Hey, folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys presents Conference Previews 2025, the Big Ten. I'm Mike with EJ. How's it going, pal?
It's going great. Off the heels of an in-person fantasy draft,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is always fun. Pretty sure your wife got a call or at least a text from Chris at one point in
Yeah.
the wee hours of of the night.
Well, because she got a snap. We were together actually, because we were at it was when the ladies are invited to the member guest
Oh,
and she got a snap and it was Taco and Joey. So what are they
okay.
doing together? So then she sent one back at me in chat. So
Got it. It was a snap. Okay, so
yeah,
she was spared from the late night. Basically, just Chris going through his phone and FaceTiming whoever will answer.
I assume so, which is a good thing because she was also had Lexi in bed with her because they were at a
Uh,
hotel. So it's probably I think if Chris would have FaceTimed her and woken up Lexi, he'd be dead. So that yes, I would say they probably got spared. I
yeah.
I, I also want to say, I had a very I didn't say this before because I didn't want to bring us down with negative energy when starting, but I traveled today. I remember guests this weekend, 3 days of golf and binge drinking will just crush you. And then I traveled today. I've been working ever since I landed, like nonstop for the past couple hours. I had a friend share some personal news that was she's going through some shit right now. And I was very tired and very drained. And I was really not looking forward to recording, but I have to say, as soon as we started here, I am just so energized. Like just looking down, I was like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to bring it for these previews." But like, it might have been the third iced americano that I got like an hour or 2 hours ago that's finally kicking in. But like, I'm ready now. Like, I let's talk some football.
All
Let's
right.
talk some football. I am energized now.
That's what I like to hear. Okay.
Yes. I was really worried I wasn't going to bring it. But now, as I sit here, as I look at my first line for my first team in the Big Ten, I'm like, oh, we got some stuff to talk about. So,
Yes, we do. And just to give everyone just a little bit of a view into the next couple weeks. So we have this one's our Big Ten preview. We will be hitting you with another episode, another double dip at the end of the week, which will be our big
double sip, not double
dub-
dip.
double
Single,
sip.
single dip your chips, double sip your whiskey.
Listen, yeah, and this is a nice little
Yeah,
we're
we got there,
we
EJ.
got a nice little double barrel oaked barrel. So that's great. A little Woodford Reserve. And so we have that Big 12 at the end of the week, and then next week, Monday, we're going to hit you with our preview. So our college football or preview, our college football playoff predictions and preview. So this is where we kind of tie it all together and give you what our bracket's going to look like and who is going to advance in said bracket. And then next Wednesday, we're back at it. Tales of
Mhm.
the Trophies season 5 hits us. It's already here. And the first one is it's an exciting one. This one's going to be a fun season because it's going to be uh the majority of the schools that we're going to talk about are going to be schools you probably have not given two thoughts about, or even considered them having intense rivalries and awesome rivalry trophies. But guess what? There's another 15 or so trophies that we're gonna talk about, and it's gonna be a great season. And we do have a couple other fun, exciting things we're gonna do this season for the first time. Um, but we aren't going to spoil that quite yet.
Not quite yet. Not quite
Not
yet.
quite. All right, let's get started. Big Ten.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. Start off with our contenders. We did 1 through 10 to decide which conference to start with today. Uh, you want to do 1 through 10 again to see who goes first?
Sure.
Hold on, let me lock in my number. Okay, go ahead.
3.
You go first.
Nice. Contenders. We gotta start off with a team here um, that is always in the conversation, but is always kind of like the bridesmaid, but never the
Mm-hmm.
bride.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting to a point now this year where if it doesn't happen this year, it's probably never gonna happen, and that's Penn State.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So with Penn State, you have a team that has trio of five-star offensive weapons that are now into their third, fourth season into college football with Drew Aller at the quarterback, and then the double-headed um, running back room with Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. So those three are your headlines, right? So you have a guy that's been considered a pro prospect in a quarterback that everyone's just waiting for him to just kind of put it all together, right? He's exactly what you want. He's the prototypical size. He actually has a little bit of speed, can make every throw, but the passing offense just hasn't been there for them. But where the passing offense is lacked, the rush offense has been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, it kind of took them a couple years to get going. I think a lot of it was also the offensive line, but now things are together, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have Andy Kotelnicki, so you get a second year in his offense, which, if you guys remember, was the explosive offense out in Kansas prior to coming to Penn State last year, and it definitely showed improvement. But I got to tell you, like, I didn't realize how much it was improved because I don't remember like noticing it. And maybe it was just a couple games that I watched
Mm-hmm.
against good defenses, and maybe that's why I didn't notice it. But they definitely made some improvements in the pass game, but it kind of has to take another step forward now.
Yeah.
And with them, I'd say again, you're having a bunch of receivers that, I mean, don't exactly inspire me, but they definitely have talent, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's never not have talent. They added a couple. They had Julian Fleming, who was one of their. It was an Ohio State transfer from last year, and was one of their better receivers. He graduated. And a couple of their other receivers left for other Power Four schools. So Trey Wallace went to Ole Miss, Amar Evans went to Washington, but they did add Kyron Hudson from USC, and then I mean upside fast guy in Devontae Ross from Troy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll kind of see. You never really know when it comes down to small schools transferring to small school athletes going to the big guys, but. Um, Honestly, the big thing that makes me feel great about them is the offensive line.
Yeah.
So this is an offensive line that's returning four starters, and it's interesting because you kind of read about this, and it was kind of in the moment right after I read Pick Six Preview, in which he has Penn State. Brett Ciencia has it really rated high. I believe that it's his national champion.
Yep.
And that's kind of hard for me to wrap my brain around because it's James Franklin. But um, one of the things that he talked about is how good the offensive line played last year
Yep.
and how good they should be this year. And then I saw a couple videos, I think on just Instagram, that talked about how there's legitimately, of the five offensive starters, like four NFL guys,
Yeah.
right? And maybe not NFL for the next year, but just NFL talented, like, level offensive linemen. So I mean, right there is enough to, even if the offense doesn't pass the ball as well as it should, it's going to protect, and it's going to be a pain in the ass to stop the run,
Yeah.
and that's usually good enough to win a lot of games in college football, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, and then on defense, you just have the biggest change really is the defense coordinators, which was a weird kind of what's it called? What's the game that you do in a circle and you
Musical chairs.
that's what I'm looking for. It was like a weird musical chair. So you have uh Allen. What's the his first name?
Tom
Tom
Allen.
Allen. Ugh.
Tom
Yeah,
Allen.
big gum chewer, big Pete Carroll gum chewer.
Uh-huh.
Um, he leaves, goes to Clemson, and Penn State was able to take the defending champions defensive coordinator in conference and previously in division in Ohio State and get Jim Knowles, which is a huge get for them.
3 days.
Because
Three
what is
days
it?
after the game.
3 days. So, I mean, that's huge for them. Obviously, you lose Abdul Carter, but Penn State's never been hurt for prospects, and they're going to just reload pretty easily on defense. And then you add a guy that took a pretty mediocre defense in Ohio State, even though it was obviously had talent and people in it, to one of the best last year, right? So, in they let's see here. So some of the people that they are keeping, you have a former 5-star kid. So you're kind of getting some of these draft classes that are now getting the upperclassmen, and Danny Dennis Sutton, who's poised for an All-American season. You also have Zane Bryant, which is one of the better tackles that they have, and another former 4-star out of the Pittsburgh area, Aliquippa, and Zariah Fisher. So Kippa. I never know how to say it.
Alquippa.
Quippa. There you go.
Hmm.
Kobe King is gone, so he was one of the better linebackers. But they also bring back a Tony Rojas, and then a Penn State legend, which I've actually seen the videos of this
I didn't know
kid.
about this too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. There's no way. He's a freshman, right?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
LeVar Arrington has a son. So one, that just makes you feel real fucking old that this kid's, only a couple years away from the pros. But second is the videos that I remember seeing, because obviously his dad was a legend at Penn State. He is a grown ass man, and
Hmm.
he's not though, right? He's like
Yeah.
18 years old,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
is thick. So they also bring back a couple. Last year they had a lot more man coverage on defense, and they brought back a couple of the all Big Ten defensive backs. So that's a big deal for them. Um, I mean, this is, like I said, this just comes down to an uber talented team,
Yeah.
and it's a team that's also has a lot of returning production, especially for a program. On offense, it's what, 76%. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then on defense, it's still even like 50%, which, considering the type of program they are, and all the people like Abdul Carter that we talked about getting drafted, Kobe Kings, then that's a decent amount coming back on defense as well.
Yeah.
Um, they're really poised to finally be the top of the Big Ten this year.
Yeah. Yeah. We said last year in our preview that last year had to be the year for Penn State, but this is truly the last dance in Happy Valley. Like, they got a lot of guys to come back, but that 2022 class, like, this is it for them. A lot of guys signed up to come back. And that was that was my first line, the last dance in Happy Valley. Like, that's what this is. Last year is the last year, but this is the year that they are all in. Like, I mean, you said it. You said it all. The one things, a couple things, just additional of note. Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, they're the Hurts and Tua of running backs in the, because like they could both. They're the first 1,000 yard duo in Penn State history, which I was surprised about. But like they could also both be starters elsewhere, right? But
Yeah.
they're choosing to stay here, choosing to set records and pursue a national championship here. I mean, yeah, the some of the stats, like you said, about like they were number 9 in passing offense. They had the most 10-yard rushes. They are returning at 76% of their production. Offensive lines monsters. I think the biggest thing that hurts them is like a lot of their offense ran through Tyler Warren last year,
Yeah.
and then a
Passing
lot of their
offense. Yeah.
defensive production ran through Abdul Carter. So you lose both of those guys, but you have so many people sticking around that I think that it's and this just has to be the year. And when you look at too, they haven't had top 10 recruiting class since 2022. They haven't done great in the portal. Like, this literally has to be the year for them to do it all. And it was very interesting too, because this was the first thing that I had listed as well. Um, their win total is 10.5, and it's plus 102. They're plus 220 to win the conference behind Ohio State, and plus 700 to win the Natty. So, I mean, if you look at, I mean, just look at their schedule. I mean, they get Oregon at home. They go to the shoe. I mean, there's not a,
That's it.
it's pretty much it, for
Yep.
them, right?
Yeah.
For the teams, they're going to give them a hard time. Like they
Yeah.
do have some challenging. They have some spots on their schedule that are a little, but like if you think that they can at least win one of those games, and they're going to have to, and I think that they're capable of doing it.
Yeah.
That plus 102 for over 10 and a half wins, that could be a big hammer. So
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That's actually kind of surprising to me. I really don't think
yeah.
I don't think they're going to drop any to someone they shouldn't, barring any catastrophic injuries, right?
Hmm.
And I definitely think they get one of those two.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. Um, no, that anything else on Penn State?
Nope.
I will say the situation that these guys are in is very reminiscent of my next team, who did the same thing last year. Last year, it was title or bust in Columbus, and wouldn't you know it, Penn State would love to copy their homework, because boy, did they get it done. I mean, it's funny because for me, perhaps as a bit of a hater, the biggest thing that stands out of last season for Ohio State was for me was the Michigan loss. But that loss I think regalvanized them, made them realize, hey, you know what? We're just an NFL team playing in the NCAA. It was worth it. That no one, no gold pants last year, but you did get a national championship ring. I would say that's probably a fair trade in the eyes of some people. Um, they lose both offensive and defensive coordinators, but this is definitely, and this I think this is what we see throughout their roster too. And they lost a ton of talent, right? They had a ton of guys go to the league, but it is a reload and not a rebuild. Gonna be very interesting to see what Julian Sayin does on offense. Like I think that their day is still acting like there's a little bit of a coaching battle here, but like or a quarterback battle here, but from all accounts, it sounds like that Sand is going to be one to get the spin here. And when you have Jeremiah Smith, that can really help to make up for a lot of sins on offense. So I think that it will be interesting to see what Sand can do with Smith. I mean, obviously, no Chip Kelly's. You have a new offensive coordinator coming in, so that's gonna be very interesting. No Henderson, no Judkins, so it is a little bit of a reload. At running back, you're gonna have to rebuild the whole offensive line because they lost about raw of production there. But when you are the caliber of program that Ohio State is, it becomes a little bit of a revolving door. And we mentioned obviously Chip Kelly's gone, defense coordinator's gone too, obviously to Penn State, but you get in the mad scientist Matt Patricia. EJ, I know you're a huge fan of Matt Patricia and everything that he did as head coach of the Detroit Lions. But I do think that when you look at Patricia, where he probably does best is being a coordinator, especially a coordinator at the collegiate level. And I think that he has all of the ingredients that he needs to whip himself up an elite defense. Um, Caleb Downs, I miss you. I miss you a lot, man. I wish you had never left Tuscaloosa because you're gonna go ahead and be, you know, an all-American, first team, everything. Like, you're the dude. You're gonna be a first round pick next year.
High first round pick, probably,
High,
really.
high first round pick.
Yeah.
I miss you a lot. Um, I mean, Sonny Styles is going to take over as the heart of soul and soul of that defense, stepping in for old Jack Sawyer. They have a bunch of five stars in the secondary, a bunch of five stars on the defensive line. It is a little bit of a rebuild. But I think that they at this point they fall a lot into as I was kind of going through. There's a lot of parallelisms between teams this year. One thing I think is that I think next year is going to be an incredible season of college football because you have a lot of these teams now that are breaking in all new rosters. This is a lot like Georgia, where Georgia had a ton of churn, and now you have new guys coming in. A lot of guys, they're just very talented. They just didn't get a lot of spins, so they're going to be able to make a name for themselves. If I look at so conference winners, Penn State was plus 220 to win the Big Ten. Ohio State's plus 195. You gotta like that. I would definitely probably put some money on both of those. And then Okay, very interesting. I was wondering what this would be. Over 10.5 wins for Ohio State is plus 110, which is actually longer odds than Penn State to get over 10.5 wins at plus 102. And then they're under 10.5 wins is minus 134.
That's because of the one non-conference game.
Yes, they're
They
going to
have
be
a
tested.
non-conference game that Penn
They're
State doesn't.
going to be tested. Yes, at the beginning of the season, starting things off the bat, we're going to see just how good this Ohio State team is when they take on the Texas Longhorns. Um, And then, they still do have to go to Michigan at the end of the year, which Ryan Day has proven to be a challenge for him. Um, I also do think, all the pressure's off now. Like you won your national championship last year with the Big Ten, but you won the Natty. Like, does Ryan Day does he just become a better coach with all the pressure off? Like, is he just now that he has the monkey off his back, he can feel free to just let the NFL level talent on his team eat? We'll see.
See, I I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't.
ooh.
Because for a guy that had a 99-year-old Lou Holtz in his head for like 3 years,
Hmm.
I know for a fact that he cannot lose to Michigan again.
That's
It
yep,
can't happen.
yep.
It absolutely cannot happen. And I feel like that is going to just be in his head. And even though, like, probably nationally, most people are going to be like, yeah, they won the national championship. Like,
Hmm.
it made sense.
Yeah,
I think in that echo chamber of
yeah.
like Ohio, Michigan,
That's
every Ohio State fan has just been berated, and it sucks because I hate both their fucking guts, but
yeah.
like just berated with, well, didn't beat us. Oh, and they won the national championship before, so it's not even
Hmm.
like you have that step up, right? That one up.
Yeah.
Technically, Michigan, even though they're cheaters, has a one up over Ohio State fans, and they are going to be looking to get even.
That's
And I wonder if that's going to potentially distract them from other
so.
things.
Do you think that they're not a contender because of the team up north?
I mean, do you want me to get into this? Do you want me
I mean,
to
I'm done.
take
I said
this?
everything. I think Ohio State's too talented to fail this year.
I would put them on a pretender list for me.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. First big deviation.
Yeah. Okay. And
Oh.
pretender, let me qualify
Yeah,
this.
qual
Pretender being
yes.
their wins, they're at 10.5. They're projected to not only pretend like they're the odds favorite to win the Big Ten, but definitely make the playoff, definitely go deep in the playoffs, right? So I have a hard time with that. I really do think they I don't know what you're gonna get in Julian saying, right?
Well, yeah, that's
Talented,
yeah.
very talented. I will say I definitely thought less of him until I realized that he's only his second year. I thought this was
Yeah.
his third year,
No,
and I was
sophomore,
like,
sophomore,
oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can't beat out Will Howard because again, I don't exactly hold Will Howard to high standards.
Right.
Then there's a problem. So I will say I'm going to say just unknown for me, but I do think it's a big deal. Like you don't know. Hartline has been great at getting receivers. You
Yeah.
have no idea whether he can coordinate a game. And truthfully, they were terrible last year until after Michigan, until the playoff. They were
Hmm.
in way too many close games on offense, and it was one of those where they just kind of like dragged their feet and were just like you said too good to fail. But I
Hmm.
feel like that too good to fail was an experienced team with even like Henderson was on his like third year of starting. He started as a true freshman. Judkins same, right? Comes from a power conference. Smith is the best receiver, I would say. I know Ryan Williams is right there too, but like I would say potentially Smith has shown a little bit more, tad bit more. Um, and that offense still struggled. So now you're telling me you have a new quarterback, new receiver, or
Knew
I guess
everything.
receivers
They
are the
they
same,
they
right?
returned 45% for 47% for their production on offense, which is 90th,
Right.
and then 48% on defense, which is 86. That's bad.
No,
It's
and
bad.
I will say, as far as like, and it's like, okay, the receivers are probably still going to be fine. That's probably the one group that you're never going to worry about. And
Yeah.
I love C.J. Donaldson from West Virginia, loved him,
Hmm.
and I think he's going to be great. But he's not Henderson or Judkins, right?
No.
So, and then like the offensive line still even wasn't that great last year, and now there's a lot of big question marks on offense for me, and then truthfully on defense, and mind you, I hate both Michigan and Michigan Ohio State. This isn't just me a Michigan fan, like trying to be that person, but I can't do it with Patricia. I just can't. I can't. I can't. Like even if you go back, and this is just me because like I was so hopeful when you went to Detroit, and I'm even just reading like this pick six preview of how they describe him makes me know that this guy did not watch Lions football and didn't go through the pain of 3 years with him because truthfully, yeah, he was a coordinator and won a Super Bowl in 2 years. Yeah, okay, that was Bill Belichick's defense, and it became dead fucking obvious when he left for Detroit. He was absolutely dreadful. Players absolutely hated his guts. And while you can get away with being a shithead to college kids more than grown ass men in the NFL, I have a bad feeling, especially with a bunch of inexperienced players, that he is going to absolutely ruin this defense. And so I think ruin it. I do. He's that bad. He's that bad. He is mad scientist,
Oh my
fucking
God.
rocket scientist, or whatever the fuck he
Oh
worked
my
on in
God.
college. I
A little
really
pencil
think
in the ear doesn't do it for you.
no. I mean, just think about how bad the defense was 2 years ago, and then
Oh.
Jim Knowles saved it. I think this is going to be a big step backwards.
Ryan Day's
And
gonna find our podcast and it's gonna live rent. He's just gonna clip it and send it to
I
Patricia.
hope
Oh
so.
my
I
God.
hope we. And you add the fact that they are defending champs. They don't have anything to fight
Oh,
for beside beating Michigan.
oh
Um,
my God.
I have a really bad feeling, and I'm looking at the schedule. I don't see them beating Texas. I think this
No.
is gonna finally be Penn State's year to beat Ohio State.
Hmm.
So that's already two losses off the bat. And if you're telling me at Michigan, when as much as I hate Michigan, they're gonna have their 5-star quarterback pretty goddamn well seasoned by then, and the defense is still gonna be annoyingly good like it always
Yeah.
is. I don't know, man. I'm looking at 3 losses.
Yeah, I just look at the rest of their schedule and I have a tough time. There's some teams on there that like are a little frisky now, but I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that like last year, I mean, really, since Tom out, like before Tom Allen showed up, the defense was a liability. Like there were many times where they were playing like like freaking Ohio, like the Bobcats or whoever, like they're playing the Zips or whatever, and like they were beating up on them. Like, the defense was like
You mean
getting
Jim
gashed,
Knowles? Yeah,
right?
Knowles. Yeah,
Um, oh yeah, Knowles, sorry. That's why I said Tom Allen.
yeah.
He left. Yeah, Knowles. Yeah, before Knowles showed up, they were just getting gashed on defense, and then the offense had to save the day. I just, yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Worst
I hear what you're saying.
defense in NFL history. Worst defense from the mad scientist in NFL history.
I mean, he had some pretty good defenses in New England, unless you do just subscribe to the fact that it's all Bill Belichick. And
And if you actually look, though, and I'm annoyed because I know because I've seen the stats and people warned Lions fans and we didn't want to hear it. That last Super Bowl win, his defense was very average at best. Very average at best. It's not
Mhm.
as good as you think.
I guess Tom Brady does cover up for a lot of issues. So
Yeah,
I'm
man. I'm sorry. I'm looking at even this stretch here at Washington, home against Minnesota, at Illinois, at Wisconsin. I'll tell you what, Washington is not a place I want to go to this year, especially being the hunted. I mean, not to say they're going to drop those. Don't
Mhm.
mind. I'm not going to go crazy here, but I see 3 losses, and if you're going to read between the lines on what that means holistically, then that's what I'm saying here.
Yeah. I just don't know that anyone on this schedule other than Texas and Penn State, the Michigan game aside, because it's too hard, too many variables there. But other than Texas and Penn State, I don't think anyone else has the defense to keep up with their offense. Um, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, yes, I know that Julian Sands is definitely an unknown commodity there and everything, and Hartline, if he can, how well can he call a game in his new role and everything like that. But Jeremiah Smith, that's you know, freaking Alabama got away with just with Jalen Milrow at quarter, which Milrow's a nice guy, but he's not really a very quality quarterback. But when you have Ryan Williams,
NFL
it
player.
gets covered up for a lot. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I don't know,
we'll
man.
we'll see. All I'm saying is this is one of my pretenders
Spicy.
as far
You said you
as
were coming in spicy, and you're saying ruined
uh,
defense, embarrassed.
yep.
Woo.
I don't know that they're making my even playoff roster. So
Whoa. Ah,
three losses going to get you in.
whoa. Whoa. Well, when you're Ohio State, perhaps. Um,
Not with who else is going to be playing this year.
well, let's talk about who else is going to be playing this year because I assume you have another contender for the Big Ten championship.
I do, and it's a team that I liked last year. Um, a team that I do like this year, and I do think if some of the question marks work themselves out, I think they could be even better than people think, and that's
Mhm.
Oregon. So I really do think you're pretty top heavy here in this conference. I think it's these big three, and with Oregon, like I I do think one, I do like excuse me, I do like Lanning, and I do think this is going to
Uh,
really bother him how the season ended last year.
we're a very pro Dan Lanning podcast, that's for sure.
And I do think that's going to bother him. I do think people are undervaluing Dante Moore. And maybe that's where I like more than other people, but
I
I
see what
I
you're doing
didn't
there.
think his time at UCLA as a 18-year-old true freshman was nearly as bad as people um like remember it. I think they were an okay team, and he made a couple of pick sixes that are like in people's minds, right? And people can remember.
Mhm.
But I just know him decently well because he's from Detroit. There was a lot of speculation on whether he would stay in state. Even Michigan State had some visits from him and had a chance at him in the Mel Tucker days. Michigan was obviously a big. He was very close to staying and going to Michigan. But I just think so. You have him having experience in his freshman year, and I thought he did honestly pretty well as a true freshman in a big conference.
Mhm.
Then he sits an entire year at Oregon to learn the offense and to mature even more. And now the reins, like this isn't just your typical, former five-star kid getting his chance. Like I think there's a big opportunity for him to do very well here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you move into the running backs room. It obviously hurts that Bucky Irvin is gone. He was fantastic, but you have a new transfer in Mekhi Hughes from Tulane. He's one of the top 10 transfer running back in the transfer portal. And then you add,
Wait, real quick on Hughes. 1,000 plus yards after contact
yeah,
last year.
yeah, yeah,
That's insane.
yeah,
That's you're talking like if there wasn't this guy Ashton Genty that was around, like that would be that would be something we're talking about for sure. So, but please, go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry, I just wanted to.
No, no, and so you add him, and that's he's more of kind of like I mean, I guess he's not necessarily a thunder because I don't think he's very big. Like
No,
not like
yeah,
big as you would expect someone that has 1,000 yards after contact.
yeah.
But you add someone like Noah Whittington, who was there last year, was the big heavy back, and another couple top 100 recruits to that running back room. I think Jordan James was good last year as well. But, that kind of took over for Bucky Irvin, but I don't think there's going to be as big of a drop off at the running backs room. At the receiving room, so you lose Tez Johnson, um, but I think people forget how good Evan Stewart was because he was so hurt last year, and then especially down the stretch. But you had him, and I'll tell you what, especially Dave, you're listening to this. One of our friends of the podcast is a big Ducks fan, and he cannot say more about DeCorian Moore, the true freshman that's coming in. And so I think he could potentially be. I don't want to ever try and put someone in the Smith Williams category of true freshmen because of just how spectacular both of them were. But I do think this kid has a real chance, and receivers, one of the positions that you can come in as an 18-year-old and make a difference.
So he's gonna need to make a pretty big difference because Evan Stewart's out for the all of this year.
Are you serious? He's
Yeah,
out?
he's out for the year. Yeah, yeah,
Oh wait, that's
yeah.
right. He
He's out
did
for
get
this year.
hurt.
Yeah.
You're right. I did forget about that.
Yep. Yep. No, I
Shoot.
agree. I no, I do.
No,
I
you're
agree
right. No,
about.
I did
I
forget.
do
I
agree
do
about
remember
Decory
seeing
and
this.
Moore. I think he's going to have a
Yeah,
great year,
I
but I
do
do
think
think it's
that.
going to be. And when you have five running backs, who cares if you only have one or two receivers, right? Just line some of those guys up in the slot. So
Well, Oregon's also okay. So I guess with Evan Stewart, that obviously that sucks, and
yeah,
not surprising, I guess now.
yeah.
But the other thing is they're very similar to a lot of these programs that with these top programs where so Decorian Moore's a former 5-star or is a 5-star that's coming in. Jerryon Dickey is another guy who's going to get
Yeah.
playing time regardless of Evan Stewart, another 5-star kid. So I do think that. That you're going to still have two talented kids, inexperienced, and then a couple slot guys that have been there and have been contributors. And another at least good passing weapon is Kenyon Sadiq.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
on. I forgot who does it with the Athletic, but they do the freak list every year of
Oh yeah,
college
yeah,
football
yeah,
players,
yeah.
and he was a top 15 on the freak list because he's just massive. Played last year, obviously or not Jake Ferguson. What was Ferguson's Kenyon or what is Ferguson's first
Terrence Ferguson.
Terrence Ferguson.
Yeah.
Was the tight end last year, got drafted, fantastic player, but Sadiq was always kind of like the guy, the next guy.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a fantastic target for him as well. And he's going to get even more touches. And then they also added a transfer from Louisville, which is going to be a pretty good tight end combo. Then you get down to the starting offensive line, and that was kind of the bugaboo last year. They
Hmm.
needed to replace four offensive, I think it was four
Yeah.
last year
Yeah. They did. They got to do it
and had
again.
and had mixed results. This year, it's a very similar situation where they have to
They were
replace
a Joe
another
Moore
four.
finalist last year, still though. The line was still a Joe Moore finalist last year. So I
Yeah,
mean,
which is
you know,
pretty surprising. Or
yeah.
maybe it's just one of those things where you see him have a bad game and that just kind of sticks in your head.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
that's I think it's the same thing with Penn State when you don't realize how explosive their offense is. Like, the sample size with Oregon and Penn State both for me last year was I was mainly watching them in their toughest contests. But you don't realize that, like, oh, you know what? They do play other teams and beat the dog water out of those teams.
Right.
So yeah. Yeah.
So at least the returning player is a center, so that's a very important position, especially in college, to be able to have
Yes.
returning. And then they add the other four are just going to be highly touted either recruits or transfers. So I mean, they have a starter from USC. They had a kid that came from Nevada who's the number one overall transfer, individual in all of college football. And it's the same offensive line coach. So you just kind of this is probably where even before I thought through Ohio State, this was always where it really hinges on this. If this offensive line can be cohesive, I think this offense can have success. Where I feel very comfortable is their defense, and I think their
Yeah.
defense is one that was pretty good last year, beside the pass defense.
Hmm.
But the front seven especially is going to have a lot of high draft picks this year.
This
Um,
is like Bama Clemson in the mid 2010s when they just had like both of them had like six even more than six, like eight, nine guys that they're just rotating at the defensive line.
Yeah.
That's what this defensive line is going to be like. It's
And this
it's
is after
insane.
losing Derek Harmon and
Yeah,
Jordan
to the
Birch.
Steelers.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I do love. I'm so glad Harmon went to Oregon. I think said this last year. I was really happy for him this year. He was a former Spartan, and it was one of those situations where you couldn't blame him for leaving, especially amidst all of the Mel Tucker turmoil.
Why?
But I'm
What
glad he got
happened?
his shine because he was, yeah, because he was so good and underappreciated at Michigan State. And so I'm really glad he got his shine. And Steelers are just a perfect fit for him. You
Yeah.
know, like never can't ever say anyone's going to replace Cam Hayward, but I feel like he's got a lot of that feel to him where,
Mhm.
you know, a guy that's not necessarily Aaron Donald level hype, but just an awesome player, solid player every year in, year out.
Yeah.
And if he could ever get to that level of Hayward, you know, obviously it would be a fantastic pick. But yeah, I think Steelers are a good place for him. But anyway, going back, then you have the better Uyunglele and Mateo that led the Big Ten in sacks in the regular season and is poised for another All American season out of him. I think a person that people are really another on the freak list is Amari Washington.
Yes.
He's going to be a pain in the ass at nose tackle. And then Bear Alexander. I
A
mean, he's
first
just
team all name. First
right.
team all name.
And that dude's just another like top 50 like guy that started at Georgia, then went to USC, and USC was a mess on defense. So just an uber talented kid. But that's a lot. And then you get um, Joey Basso, their linebacker. He leaves after starting 40 games for them at linebacker, but you also bring back an all Big Ten in Bryce Botcher, who led the team in tackles. You also bring a couple of highly touted recruits. But I think the biggest thing for them was their secondary. Their secondary was not very good, and Lanning was not going to settle for that
Yeah.
for this year. So they signed all Big Ten player out of Northwestern, added another starter from Ole Miss, and then got a number one JUCO corner as well to add to a couple top 100 kids to really kind of pack that through. They also landed really the only good player on Purdue in I think he was all Big Ten. Yeah, Dylan Tianeman. I want to say I don't think it's Thieneman. It might be Thieneman. But I do remember he was someone, obviously Michigan State plays Purdue, that he was the only one that got kind of a circle on his name or on the game when you play Purdue. So they bring him in as well at safety. And another five-star kid headlines the other safety spot. So in this pick six preview, Brett seems to think that they are going to be his 2026 national champions because it's a lot of young players and question marks, but uber talented. I think he just thinks it's going to take them a year of trial and going through the fire. He still has them as a playoff team, but not quite a real contender. And that's where, for me, it gets interesting because I talked to Dave about this. This is a situation where what if, right? What
Hmm.
if things go a little like things get sped up a little faster,
Yeah.
right? Then this not only becomes, a team that can contend in the Big Ten, but potentially a team that can make a run if things start to come together. And the one thing I will say is they get some pretty good um strength of schedule, or at least the opportunities to play real competition before Penn State.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is going to be obviously a very big game. It's the whiteout game at the beginning of the year, but for them to have to play Montana State, who did they win it or was in the championship, right? Didn't they play Montana? Or at least in the playoffs, they played each other in the FCS
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Montana State won the whole thing last year, I think.
Okay. So
Yeah.
not only do you have them, while Oklahoma State might be down, it's still a Power Four conference team that they're playing. Then again, going to Northwestern, but still a really respectful schedule. And then Oregon State, your rival, and all of them leading up to Penn State. So while I could see a world where maybe they stumble out the gate, don't necessarily lose, but maybe struggle. But I
Have
feel like
some
they're going to be
challenges.
battle tested. And
Mm.
honestly, for Penn State, they're not going to be before that game. So that's
Yeah.
going to be an interesting matchup. Now, while
Good point.
again, that's a hard thing to go into Beaver Stadium in a whiteout and win regardless. I think Oregon's going to be ready for the challenge,
Yeah,
and it's going to be an interesting, to see Penn State, who it might not really be tested before that.
yeah.
So it might look really great until they have Omari Washington, pushing these NFL center, their NFL center back into the backfield a few times. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But I do like Oregon as a true contender, and I do think they have a chance to really maybe be even more or potentially be even less if some of these kind of question marks fall one way or the other.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do think that I do think that I agree with a lot with what you said. The biggest thing that stand out to me are definitely the defensive line, like, and just the studs that they're rolling there. Because yeah, one thing you can do to help make corner play a little bit easier is when you're getting to the quarterback in like 1.5 seconds, like that definitely helps. And then the running back stable, man. I mean, when you look at the amount of talent that they have and diverse running backs that they have, it's just I think it's gonna be very interesting the amount of things that they can do there, even though losing Stewart definitely sucks, but having Sadiq, having a bunch of talented guys at running back, even though you are, replacing two talented guys at running back, like there's a ton of depth there, and I think it's just going to be, you know, uh, Dan Lanning is does a very excellent job developing players and motivating his players too. So, um, I do think it's going to be a good year for the Ducks. I think you make an interesting point, man. Like, what if, because there's like I said, a lot of team, Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, that are like kind of like in this rebuild phase. What if the rebuild's just a year ahead of schedule, right? So, yeah, could definitely happen. Could be very interesting. They are a contender for me too. So I'm on the same page with you there.
Do you have any other contenders?
I don't. I'd
Okay,
like to
me
get to a
neither.
team that I guess could be a guess could be a pretender.
Okay.
Where are they ranked preseason? Let me see. Let me see. Let me actually, you know what, instead of let me see where they're ranked preseason. Let me see. Okay.
Now that those are actually out, these were not out for our last recordings this last week,
Can
but
you
they are now out.
can you perhaps tell me where the University of Southern California Trojans are ranked preseason?
Yes. Let's see here.
Because, buddy, even though they have the fifth best odds to win the Big Ten, um, oh, also, by the way, I'm just severely distracted because there's a bunch of girls that are down the street below me, and they're like taking like Instagram pictures with like a full camera. Like the one girl's like leaning through the bars on this railing. This is actually a hilarious scene. It's a very funny scene right now.
According to the
Well, photo
AP
shoot.
preseason poll, which was released today, today. Oh wow.
Oh, very
Okay.
nice.
Um, they are not in the top 25.
Okay, well that makes sense because I think that they are gonna. I think that they're gonna have like even though they're still towards the top of the Big Ten, and they did have, when you look at last year, five of their six losses were one score. They lost by one score. They did have a nice bowl win, right? Um, but man, I think Lincoln Riley, whenever I talk about pretenders, I talk about this is the same situation as with LSU. Talk about drawing parallels. This is where I think that Lincoln Riley might not be having a job next year, or might be, updating his resume. He might have to play those games on LinkedIn to try to, figure out how he's doing compared to his peers and be like, oh, nice job on Queens. By the way, are you guys looking for a new head coach or offensive coordinator, or maybe even quarterbacks coach? Because I just don't believe in them at all. I mean, they again, five of their losses were not as bad as their schedule dictates. It was very close, much like Louisville last year. A lot of one score losses, a lot of what ifs. Had those gone the other way, we'd be talking about it differently. I just don't see it happening. Like when you look at everything that they have going on last year, they're passing absolutely abysmal. Number 81 in yards per attempt, number 69 in touchdown to interception ratio. 91 explosive pass plays. Like Jaden, is it Maava or Maivia? Maava,
I
right?
think it's Mayava.
I don't want to get put into a blender after pronouncing another last name,
Pavia.
similar Pavia,
Pavia.
Maava, Pavia, whatever. Uh, he showed potential, but like I think he just makes bad decisions, right? Like I guess you could say, he came in, went 3-1 as the starter. He got the comeback win the Vegas Bowl. Like, maybe he's gonna make some things happen here. I just don't know that he's gonna be a good decision maker and a difference maker for them down the line, right? It doesn't help that they do have a lot of making up to do at the skill positions. Uh, let's see, the rooms are looking completely different. They are bringing in running backs with 1,000 yards in the portal. Right with 1,000 yard seasons in the portal. Who are they bringing in here? Woody Marks, second team William Marks ran out of eligibility last year. They got who is it? Where's this guy's name? Oh, sorry, there it is. Eli Sanders from New Mexico and Waymon Jordan, top JUCO transfer, 1,000 yard back. But I wonder maybe a
I
little
mean,
bit too much wear on the tires.
I
Uh,
I
yeah,
think
but
one stat that is unbelievable to me, unbelievable, and I don't think I caught this the first time around. Since Lincoln Riley has been a head coach, so that's been 8 years.
yeah.
So when it was ninth year, which is weird because I feel like he's been a head coach for like 20. 8 years. He has featured the conferences in whatever conference he's been in. So the Big 12, the Big 10, has featured the conference's number one QB rating every season. That's insane. Three Heisman Trophy winners and 8 seasons of passing perfection. So in his conference, he has always had the best QB rating until last year
And it ain't gonna happen this year either.
because the same guy.
The same guy. And if it's not like, you got a couple other guys coming in here. You got we're talking about Julian Sang come in, Drew Hours here, obviously. You talked about Oregon, some other teams we're going to talk about, but someone paid a whole bunch of money for the number one overall quarterback to come on into their school. So I think it's just gonna be really tough sledding for this year, right? Like they had a pretty good offensive line, but they lost a ton of the proven power there. They also weren't utilized correctly. They were extremely pass heavy. They had 129th in rushing attempts per game, and you have to wonder had they had a little bit more balance, would things have ended up differently for them? Now, whenever Lynn came in, he did make a huge impact on the defense. I mean, he brought them out of the basement.
Well, I mean,
Um,
any positive
right.
sign of
Yes.
defending was
Yes.
better, but
2 years ago was, all blue chippers on paper and then ended up being one of the most abysmal defenses you'll ever see. But so he pulled them out of the basement. But you have to now get a second year coordinator bump, right? You expect to get that. But you're also having to rebuild because you lose eight of your starters. So to me, it just feels like very similar to LSU that I think if things go off the rails for USC, it's gonna snowball and it's gonna be a tough time for them. Now they do get a decent start to the season, right? Missouri State, Georgia Southern, at Purdue, Michigan State, but then they go to Illinois. They got their bye. They get off the bye. Michigan at home, go to Notre Dame, then they got the bye. Then they go to Nebraska, who, spoiler, I think they're going to be pesky this year. You get Northwestern at home, okay. You get Iowa at home, okay. Then you go to Oregon, and then you end the year with UCLA, who's your rivalry game, right? And UCLA, I think, is also dog water this year too. But they do have an incredible, quarterback in Iamo. Why am I blanking?
Iamaliava,
Iamaliava. Thank you. Thank you.
Nico.
Nico. Nico. So. I just think it's gonna be they're just depleted and they really didn't have a great year to build on. And I just think that if things start to go downhill and unwind for a little bit, it's gonna unravel for Lincoln Riley quickly.
I
So
mean, you just have. I'm with you. You have a defense you can't trust,
yeah,
and now you can't trust his offense.
yeah,
That's a bad recipe because you could always trust his offense,
yeah,
and you could always trust that. Like, while again, like until last year when they really like you mentioned, they didn't run the ball when they probably could have.
yeah.
And then they lose. Who's the star receiver that transferred out?
They lost.
Uh,
Oh yeah, because he just went to
Zachariah Branch.
yeah,
Right. So
Zachariah
you
Branch.
have this
Yes.
huge name in Zachariah Branch. And now, like, again, it's USC, so they're gonna fill spots, but it's just like you get to a point where under Lincoln Riley, you can't trust their defense. And even though, like you said, Lynn made a difference went from dog shit to like okay. And now but that was with an offense that you felt pretty confident could score points. But now you're like, I don't know, can they?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can they consistently do that? And then if they can't consistently score points and can't defend, yeah, I mean, could they put it all together for a game or two and ruin someone's day? Sure. Especially if it's an East Coast team traveling
Yeah.
West Coast.
Right.
Um,
That's their
but
biggest advantage is
right.
the home field advantage whenever you're playing East Coast teams. But yeah,
And
no,
it's not because of the people in the stands, it's because of people having to fly 5 hours.
I just wonder where's all the booster money going to? Like,
I
because
don't know.
they lost Joyner, they lost Hudson, Kyron Hudson to Penn State, they lost Deuce Robinson to Florida, and they lost Zachariah Branch, as you mentioned, to Georgia. So like,
Yep.
where's all that money going? Because I don't think it's going to the football team. So
Nope.
yeah,
Don't know.
I just think that there's a little bit of momentum. Now, granted, they did bring in a new GM who says that he's going to make sure that they have the number one overall, the best recruiting haul ever, and they are number one nationally ranked last right now. But again, this is where if they have a little bit of struggles, you're going to see guys flip their commits,
It's also
and
Los
people are going to
Angeles.
start to give up, and then yeah, it's also Los Angeles. And you know what? One thing I think that Nico didn't consider when going to UCLA. I'm pretty sure that state taxes in California are a little bit different than state taxes in Tennessee. So something to think about. Not that I'm sad that he left Tennessee, but yeah, something to think about there for all you recruits. So yeah,
I don't necessarily have any more pretenders because I don't necessarily think any of these other schools I really don't have them like valued as someone that I would um really consider fighting for the Big Ten championship. Do you have any other pretenders you'd say?
no, 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 no.
Okay. So who are your dark horses?
My dark horses. Hmm.
Well,
Well, no, no,
I can
no, no,
start.
no,
Oh,
no.
you got one?
Let me. I was
Okay.
between two. I was
Okay.
between two. But I'm gonna
I'm
go for
kind of
this one.
between two too, and I wonder if it's the same too.
I I don't think so. I think that based on what we talked about, I don't think you like this team very much.
Hmm.
But I'm still hot on Coach Sig. I'm with Coach Sig. I'm with the Hoosiers, baby. Like they were smoking teams last year, and I think that they're gonna keep smoking them this year too. Um, number two on scoring offense, number six on scoring defense. Yes, they had a very cakewalky schedule, and people were complaining that they shouldn't be in the playoffs. And when they played Notre Dame, they looked like they shouldn't be in the playoffs. But you know what? They did beat the bad teams badly last year. That's pretty good when you have a bunch of transfers coming in from uh, you know, group of five schools, right? So I think they have that going for them, and the rebuild is going to continue now with Coach Sig. The guy may be chasing Lane Kiffin's title as Portal King because he brought in the number four overall QB, the number nine interior offensive lineman, the number seven tight end, and the number 13 running back. They got freaking Fernando Mendoza coming from the Calgorithm. I think that's going to be huge for him. I think it's going to be huge for this offense. We saw what Mendoza did last year at Cal, and he gets one of his buddies coming over at wide receiver for him too. Two great transfer ins at running back and Roman Hemby from Maryland, and then Lee BB from UAB. Well, I remember seeing him last year in some highlights, so I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. You got Surratt and Cooper returning as wide receivers. As I mentioned, Jonathan Brady's coming in from Cal. That offensive line could possibly end up as a Joe Moore finalist this year. Um, and then you look at what they did on defense last year. Haynes took them from the 101st overall defense and basically gave them a defense 101, and up with the number one rushing defense, number two total defense, number six scoring defense. And that defense, even though the Notre Dame game was a little more out of hand than a 10 point difference,
Yeah.
I don't think that defense looked all that much out of place. I think we even
No.
talked about this during like our recap of that first round. The the Indiana defense did not look out of place there. Um, I think that was a tough
And
game to
Notre
play.
Dame ended up going to, maybe something called the national championship.
Right.
So maybe they were a little better than people thought.
Exactly. Exactly. They do have to replace seven starters, but you get three All-Americans coming back, one at each level, in Kamara on the defensive line, Fisher at linebacker, and Pounds at defensive back. I think that that's a huge thing to have that kind of leadership at each level. Um, and like I said, I think the big thing is that the people that he brought in, that Sig brought in the portal last year, were group of five all-stars, and now he's got power four all-stars coming in transfer portal. So I think that's huge. I mean, they look at their schedule too. They go to Oregon and Penn State. So it's like, all right, that's 10-2. Looking at their schedule, I'm not overly worried about. I wasn't anyways earlier when I look. I'm not overly worried other than obviously the Oregon game and the Penn State game. But like if they happen to get one of those, 11-1. I mean, even if they lose those two, that's 10-2. That's good enough to get to the playoff, right? So, yeah, feeling pretty good about the Hoosiers this year to continue to build on the success that they had last year. Really excited for Mendoza and see what he can do.
Not so fast.
I knew it. I knew you didn't like the Hoosiers.
I don't like the Hoosiers. I love
Oh!
the Hoosiers.
Oh, the swerve, the swerve. You did it to me.
Everything you said, I this was a team where you
Oh,
you you do the calculus in your head, especially when you're looking at the playoffs of like you're likely looking at four Big Ten, you're likely looking at four SEC. Maybe one doesn't get one, right? If you like a second team in another conference like the ACC or the Big 12, but you start to have to look for those outside of the ones that are you're going to put in your championship game. And for every reason, including that offensive line, is why I firmly believe this is that team in the Big
mhm.
Ten. I am completely with you. I think they very well could lose those two
You
games
swerved
against the
me.
best two.
You gave me the Lee Corso pump fake right there.
Uh, and
Oh, you.
Mendoza and that algorithm, it was so great. And Signetti just listened to people shitting on him after that playoff game and how
Hmm.
they didn't deserve to be there. They don't deserve this, don't deserve it. And he is going to be even more spiteful and is likely to run up the scores on every single game he has a
Yep.
chance at.
Yep. Yep.
Again, even more so. And the schedule is a cakewalk outside of those two games. So,
Yeah.
yeah, will they get to the playoffs and win a game? Probably not, but will they get there? I absolutely think so.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Love the Hoosiers.
Man, I was worried. I also have to go back and I realized I have to amend some things in my playoff rankings. So
And
we're gonna
it is for coach.
it
Our
is.
branding
It
is
is.
our ad is for Indiana because we liked they were a shocker to us, but we liked Signetti all last
Hmm.
year.
Hmm.
Um, I love that we love them again, and it's coach's last year. And I think they need to I hope that they acknowledge coach, and I just hope that they just do it for him. Um Yeah, I'm loving the Hoosiers.
Oh, I love it. Okay, good, good. I feel a lot better about my pick. I feel pretty good about that.
And honestly, I'm with you because you kind of hinted at another team you like. I also think, even though Nebraska burned me last year, I
Mm-hmm.
do think they're going to be frisky this year.
Oh yeah.
They're another dark horse for me, and I really think one of the reasons why is I love Dana Holgerson. Right, we're also
Uncle
a
Dana.
big air raid, love Wazoo, and I just think that when he finally got elevated last year, and you saw that huge explosion against Wisconsin, it also gave me hope. I said it last year. Playing at Memorial Stadium is a pain in the ass, and I don't think a lot of people know it because the heyday in the '90s is so far removed now, and they haven't even been remotely okay, let alone to the level they were when they were winning national championships. But I just think that that's always a sold out stadium. Definitely somewhere I want to go to watch a game at. But Raiola is now getting a second year. He's a true freshman. I knew I was running into it, trusting a true freshman last year, but he was so highly rated, and I thought and it performed. And they had a lot of diverse, it seemed like diverse weapons, but they kind of run it back, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
with another year of experience. So you add Raiola coming back and is going, obviously, been working on hitting a lot more of the vertical shots and just learning how to read a college defense, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
much
Mm-hmm.
different than high school, no matter how good you are. So I do think that's gonna he's gonna just naturally improve after his 1 year of offense, and obviously, or 1 year of starting. Holgerson and that type of offense is going to be exciting, especially with his arm
Yeah.
talent. Maybe he'll stop the whole Mahomes stuff and just focus on being a football player and not looking like his brother. Um, but they lose three of their top four receivers. Honestly, not sad about it because that although those receivers didn't do anything for him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They totally revamped it with some pretty key transfers from Kentucky, from Cal, from these top schools. So um, they're going to be the top of the level. One of them, Dane Key, is from Kentucky. He was a 3 year starter in the SEC, and then Hunter was a true freshman at the Calgorithm with Mendoza last year, and impressed there. So those are two big gets, and they
Yeah.
also have some top 100 kids that are now going to be matured enough to get some playing time. So after that, so then you have going to the running backs room. You have a goal line hammer, Dowdle from Kentucky as well. I just rated it there. It looks like they're bringing back. They're also the running back that got a lot of increased carries, but got injured towards the end of the year. So or yeah, yeah, so he comes back, yep, this year. And then also the number two heading into the fall. You have another big, strong running back that can be goal line as well, which in especially in an air raid when you're really like going fast, throwing, and then not letting them really set to rush in. I think that could be pretty big. I just think now it's the offensive line's turn, and I think that's why they're a dark horse, right? I think the defense was much improved last year, one of the better ones they've had since the Ndamukong Suh and Prince Amukamara days. So I think the offensive line is the big key here, and they have two starters that depart, but they have three full time starters returning, along with a couple of veteran players that are going to fill in those spots that are missing. And they added a couple big power four starters from the portal as well, including a 5 star from Alabama
Yeah.
and a guard from Notre Dame. So I think this is kind of the time now, right? To take an offensive line that was supposed to be much improved last year, and I think it was okay, but now it's time to move a step forward. I think the biggest thing is they lost their tight end Fedone. He was a star. and they lost another tight end to a transfer portal. But they do get a switch, a quarterback switch. You got to love that. There's another one that we'll talk about it. Another a highly touted 5-star recruit that didn't work out at quarterback that is now transferring or changing positions to tight end. So they have one themselves, and then also another tight end that got some experience last year. And it looks like in their spring ball got a lot of increased snaps with Holgerson. So, yeah, I think their offense is going to. I have a feeling their offense is going to look a lot better, and then their defense is returning. Not Oh, I guess okay, 50%. So returning an okay amount, but it was a much improved defense. And let's see here. They promoted from within with John Butler, and they also hired his long-term mentor as an associate head coach to kind of buffer a first-time coordinator. And the front seven is what really needs to be rebuilt. So they lost a couple of their big run stuffers, but they do have
And their
what is it?
linebackers.
A
Yeah.
trio of four-star recruits coming back. I think it's the like you said, the inside linebackers are now gone as well. So they have to replace those, but they replace those with two proven starters, one coming from Oklahoma, the other one coming from Georgia Southern, but he was the Sun Belt Defender of the Year. So that's I think what do you say, stacked three 100 tackle seasons. I don't care what level you're at.
That's pretty
That's
good.
very impressive.
Hmm.
Um, and then you have a pair of 4-star top 100 players as well, like backers. They signed a few of those. Also, some young talent behind them. And the secondary returns 4 starters, all entering their senior year. They have a couple of guys, or at least one guy that's considered an NFL, has NFL draft grades. So at least you have experience in
Hmm.
the back end as well. So I just think it's always that kind of like Matt Rule has had personally a 3rd year boom
Yeah, it's the
for
Matt
him.
Rule. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's the Matt Rule. So I think this is a team, especially with a real home field advantage, a schedule that is not daunting at all. And especially considering 3 of their 4 road games are against bad teams. The last one's against Penn State, fine, but they get the rest of their schedule at home, and I don't think that can be overlooked. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Hmm.
definitely think this is a frisky team, like you mentioned.
Frisky, definitely a bit of a pain in the ass. And forgot to mention with Indiana, their win total on FanDuel said over 8.5. That's plus 110. Absolutely taking that after looking at the schedule. I don't know where they think the where they think 4 losses are coming from. Like the two we talked about, but I don't know where the other two are. Nebraska is set at 7.5. The over is minus 160. I would love to see that at over 8.5. I would maybe take that because yeah, looking at their schedule, I think people must just be really high on Michigan and USC. That must be where they think these losses are coming from.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But no, I agree. I mean, I think that the Matt rule is not something that I feel like. I think that's science at this point. It's not to be tested, not to be messed with. And yeah, you got Uncle Dana back there, so I think that he can, if he can, like you said, get Raiola doing a little less Patrick Mahomes cosplay, a little more drinking Bush Light. I think that they'll be in good shape. So
Yeah, and I do really like the fact that they got experienced with his offense last year, right? That
yeah.
he did come in towards the end of the year. There was marked improvement, and now he's had a full off season to even, obviously it was probably an abridged version of his offense and all sorts of things, especially with a freshman quarterback, a true freshman quarterback. So I definitely think they're just really poised to definitely bounce back. An easy schedule helps with that tremendously.
Yes.
Yeah, so I really do think that they have a real shot to potentially be that Indiana. level team where maybe they're not really contending for the Big Ten, but they could be that next tier and maybe find themselves in a playoff if things shake out the right way, depending on
Mhm.
how other teams and other conferences, how they turn out and play.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You got any other dark horses?
No, I mean, there's some teams that, are probably worth mentioning briefly, but no one else I would really get into, like, you know, do you have any other dark horses though? I don't have anyone else I want to dive into, just people I want to touch on.
Yep. Same.
I mean, Washington, I'm not saying, but I'm saying Jed Fish year two,
Yep.
Damon Williams at quarterback.
Yep.
Schedule's really not too bad, and they are a pain
Nope.
in the ass in dynasty mode and NCAA.
And it's
So,
traveling. A lot of teams having to go cross
yep,
country.
yep,
Seattle.
yep, yep. So I'm not saying, but I'm saying keep your eyes out for the Huskies. Um, Illinois, last year was a season for the ages. Brett Bielema's never been one to really have consistency of success going forward. Um, they do have a lot of veterans returning, which is pretty good. I just, also a lot of close wins last year
Right.
where they may be a little bit too good. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to say it. I don't know. There's stuff that is positive. I think all the veteran leadership returning is really good. All the veteran players turning really good. But like, were they as good? They're like the opposite of like Louisville and USC last year, where they had a bunch of close losses. Illinois had a bunch of close wins. Um, do you want to say anything about Big Brother, or you just want to let it go? You want to talk? You want to talk about it?
I guess we can. I just they're a team that's gonna get a lot of hype because of Bryce Underwood.
Yes.
Number one overall recruit in his class, true freshman quarterback.
Enjoy your
Um,
enjoy your ESPN highlights now, Shador, because there's a
right.
new top dog coming for those ESPN highlights that are just terrible stat line, and they're like, "Oh, Heisman, freshman Heisman." So
Yeah, I just think you're going to potentially see a lot of what you saw last year from Michigan. I think you're going to have a very, very good defense. Although it begs to it begs to question whether or not it's going to be as good because you have like Mason Graham was fantastic and he's
mhm,
already looking fantastic in the short preseason stints he's had out in Cleveland and Kenneth Grant and you just have like you do have their linebacking core stays the same, which is big for them because they were very good. This is another program that's not lacking talent. They always are filling these positions with beside quarterback until now with these highly touted players. So I think the defense is still going to be enough to beat bad teams.
mhm,
I just don't know if the offense is going to be enough unless Underwood really comes out. And I mean, they have the transfer quarterback from Fresno State. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised to see him actually start, and then Underwood like slowly come along.
mhm,
Um, but I just think when you're an offense that wasn't very good last year and you lose the one guy, right? And Colston Loveland, their tight end. I don't know that like some of the receivers were plucky at best. The running backs aren't, um, but they were last year. So it's big question marks there. And honestly, the big question mark is their offensive line. It was terrible last year. I don't know that and they're replacing a lot of them. So maybe that's potentially a good thing, but I think that offense is going to potentially struggle against respectable teams.
yeah.
But I do think the defense is going to be good enough to um, keep them in the game, especially if they really just try and do lame offense like they did last year, not turn the ball over.
I'm
Um,
excited to see what Bryce Underwood's gonna do. Like I want to see good, bad, whatever. Like that's a lot of money to pay. I want to see if it was worth it. I want to see if it's worth the check. But
Yeah, so we'll see. I just think like when you're looking down, I don't know what their win total set at, but like I don't think they're winning in Norman. I don't know if they're gonna win in Lincoln. It's probably like 8.5.
No, no, it's not.
What does
It's
it have?
not. Oh, wait, sorry. So, I'm so sorry. Oh, I feel so bad now. I feel so bad. I should have known.
It's fine. You can hammer the over on the one that you
I was
saw.
looking at I was looking at Sparty.
Yeah, it's
Sparty's
not going to be 4.5. I can tell you they're going to win way more than 4.5.
five and a
You can
half. It's minus 132.
you can
Um,
hammer the hell out of that.
Hammer that, folks. You heard it here first. Nine and a half is plus 140. So yeah. So eight and a half is probably close to even
Nine
money.
and a
So
half. So they're
it's
saying,
plus 140. That's plus 140 though. So
yeah,
there's that's eight and a half is probably like that's closer to even money, I would assume. So
yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I don't
I
know.
don't
I
I
think it's going to be really hard for them to necessarily just fill in on defense. And I do think that offense is going to potentially be just as meh as last year. But
yeah.
now you have a kid that's never played before, even though he's, potentially very talented. And then a kid that's never played, I mean, I guess Fresno's plays okay schools in Mountain
Yeah.
West, but yeah, I could see them struggling. I don't know that Sharon Moore is great at being an offensive coordinator, but we'll see.
We'll find out. All right, well that does it for the Big Ten. Um we have one more, and then it's time to the playoffs.
Well, yeah, but we got to tell who's winning the conference. Who's in our
Oh
championship?
yes, who is winning the champion? Who is winning the championship? I am going to select. I'll go first. I'm gonna have. Let me check to make sure this is right with what I have on my phone too. The phone I did because it was too hard with paper because I was racing stuff. Penn State over Oregon. Nitty Kitty gets it done over the Ducks this year, which is tough writing it out and is tough saying too. But I just think that if you look at a team, the only team in the Big Ten with like strong returning production, and that returning production is all blue chip guys, proven commodities and assets. It's it's Penn State. I think that Oregon, I agree with you. I think Oregon's going to end up finishing ahead of Ohio State, just they did last year. I just think that in the Big Ten championship game, anyways, that it will be a little bit too much for the newbies. So that's my prediction. What's up with you?
Yep, I got Penn State beating Oregon twice. I think that they beat them in the regular season. I think they finally get that Ohio State monkey off their back over the last couple of years, and get to the championship game. I think Ohio State drops too many to get to it, and yeah, I just think this is going to be that budding rivalry. I think
Hmm.
this is something where Penn State lost to Oregon last year in the Big Ten championship
Yeah.
game. And I think this is where they get a double dose of revenge. And this is going to then be something that we talked about for a few years in the future
Hmm.
here about these two squads having to play each other continuously for high stakes. But yeah, I got Penn State over Oregon.
Love it. All right. Well, with that being said, and with two more podcasts to record this evening, we'll wrap this one up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So please be sure to stay tuned because this is going to release on our normal Wednesdays. As you guys know, this is happening on the Wednesday. Yay. And you're going to get another one on Friday, which is going to be the Big 12 championship, which will round off our 4 conference previews. So for Mike, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything's bad, but too much good whiskey is barely enough.
Cheers, boys.